Hey everyone, it's Irene Line here. Welcome to this video, to this channel, and to this entire world of healing trauma, nervous system health, and all things neuroplasticity. I'm going to do something a little different today. We get lots of shares and stories from my students. You can read dozens and dozens over on my site. And I wanted to share this specific one. It was sent to us via email. We didn't even ask for it. One of our 21-day nervous system tune-up members from Sweden wrote this to us a little while ago, and the story was just so remarkable, all the shifts that occurred, which I know is possible, and I hear these stories from students, but to have it just written out in the way that she wrote it out was beautiful. And as I go through it, I will explain what is occurring and why these things are occurring. If you're new to me, just know that when we work at this autonomic nervous system level, these are our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. This is what we all have as humans, mammals, animals in the world. We have these nervous systems that keep us safe, but also govern our digestion, our cardiovascular system, our immune system, our hormonal health, how we engage with the world, with others, how our thinking brain works, how our cognitive brain works, all of it. So this autonomic nervous system, which is what my work is all about, and getting into the system to help it heal and become more regulated, we want it to be well because it attaches and connects to every part of the human system. So I am going to read, and as I read, just listen to this story. It's just really remarkable. So the student's name is Elisabeth. I'm allowed to share her name. She is from Sweden, and her English is impeccable. So let's get started. So dear Miss Lyon, with this letter, I just wanted to say thank you for all your work. I have done the 21-day nervous system tune-up, seen every YouTube video, yes, every single one, and taken advantage of every resource on your site. Thank you for helping me help myself. Now, I just want to point out, if you are here watching this, which of course you are, and you haven't started with the resources on my site, get into them. There are ebooks, there are audio samplers. These are all free of charge that you can download and do, not just theory, but practical. I know some people say that they don't have the finances to get started. There's no excuse, because this is how this person started, and they watched every single YouTube video. At this point, I know there's over 100 of them when we consider the long form lectures and Q&As. So this is the first part in her success, is she took an initiative. She went forward and did her work. She moved through the resources. Okay, back to the letter. I am now, for the first time since fall of 2014, so I'm recording this in 2021, so since the fall of 2014, pain-free from fibromyalgia, symptoms of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is something that's thought to be a disease where the tissues, the connective tissue, just isn't doing its job, and there's this hypermobility in the joints. But as we will see, it's clearly not something that is always there. It can be changed. So symptoms of EDS, menstrual cramps, and also more severe premenstrual distress, plantar fasciitis, which is, if you think of your foot, there's a huge tendon. It's a fascia, it's some tissue, but it's very, very susceptible to stress, poor posture, poor foot mechanics, and it can get very inflamed, and it can make walking painful. So that's what plantar fasciitis is. POTS, so POTS is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Basically what this means is when we stand up, we want our blood pressure to match that shift in center of mass. We want the system to maintain homeostasis. The heart rate's going to change. It's going to go up. The blood pressure is going to go up, but then we want it to regulate. We want it to come back to a good flow. POTS, and this is just one example of what occurs, is when this postural tension, we would call it orthostatic tension and pressure, it doesn't find that flow. And the T in the POTS is tachycardia, which means elevated heart rate. So the heart just pounds and pounds and it doesn't go down. It is very uncomfortable from what I've heard. So this is another thing that she is free from, POTS and much more. And she even says, yes, I have been diagnosed. I know now that all these symptoms come from a dysregulated nervous system. So again, just a reminder, pain-free from fibromyalgia, EDS, severe premenstrual cramps, plantar fasciitis, POTS, and much more. This spring, so my assumption is the spring of 2021, I took a walk with my husband around the block and realized this is the first time I have been able to walk pain-free. That's huge. And here's the thing with chronic pain, when we've had it for a long time, we stop knowing, we don't remember what it's like to live in a body that is not chronically sore, tense, uncomfortable, makes us cranky, all these things. It just becomes what we're used to, right? It just becomes normal. And sometimes it takes a moment of doing something like going for a walk around the block and going, whoa, wait a second. I am not having to stop every few moments. I'm not having to stop and catch my breath. I'm not having these, sharp, acute bursts of pain. So again, this is really important. The other reason this is important, we know that physical activity and being able to move is a massive contributor to how long we live, but also how well we live. We need to move as human beings. Next line down, or paragraph down. She writes, a month ago, I took a walk in the forest and got an impulse to run up a hill. Yes, she says, I ran up a hill for the first time in 7 years. When I stopped, I realized that it didn't hurt and I hadn't dissociated. When I realized I hadn't dissociated, I started to cry. I can't even remember if I have ever cried from gratitude before. Now, I did a video about exercise and healing trauma. I'll be sure to post it below in the show more section. The reason why this is also important is if we have a history of trauma and the stuff that would cause this level of dysregulation in a person, one of the reasons why people don't exercise and they don't push themselves is that when their heart rate does go up and they start to feel the increase in breath and the pressure through the body, we think, not in our mind, but the physiology thinks it's a fear-based response. They think in that unconscious nervous system response, this is a threat, there must be something chasing me, someone's screaming at me, someone's about to hit me, someone's about to attack me, my heart rate's going up, gotta stop, I'm gonna dissociate and shut down. So the fact that she was able to exert her body physically, but be decoupled from the memories, the somatic memories of terror, I'm going to assume, and panic, is a huge win. It shows that the system has a healthy response now to increased activity, which is also why they were able to heal from POTS, because again, remember that has to do with blood pressure and the heart rate just going berserk. Okay, moving on. I'm doing this, and then she writes in quotes, I'm doing this for the first time pain-free list is getting so big since coming out of the freeze response that I've just about lost count, which is just so cool. I'm even doing things without dissociating or feeling pain or discomfort for the first time ever in my life due to some degree of functional freeze, fawn response from early childhood. And, in this, she doesn't tell me what her trauma is. I don't need to know what it is. In our courses, whether it's this 21-day nervous system tune-up that she has done or my longer program, Smart Body, Smart Mind, we are never asking you what were all the bad things that happened to you. You may know what they are. You might not even know what they are. A lot of our traumas are pre-verbal, and if we don't have a cognitive memory of them, they're not going to come through our thinking brain. They're just going to show up in these physiological responses and reactions. Moving on. All physical transformation aside, that was really big to begin with, so this is huge. The mental shift has been indescribable. So mental capacity. My capacity has increased so much, and she used an analogy I teach called the swimming pool analogy. If you don't know what this is, it's in video number 1 of my Healing Trauma video series, which is free. I'll post it below. Be sure to watch that video. So she writes, my capacity, my swimming pool has increased so much that it is unrecognizable, both in my approach to work life and in my personal life. And here's the other thing, you guys. Our capacity to think and create, I did a video on creativity and trauma a little while ago. I'll also post it below. You have your homework cut up for you. Our higher brain, which is obviously up here, is dictated by our survival physiology. If we are living in a dysregulated state where our fight, flight, and our freeze responses are just in chaos and kind of in this tug of war with each other, the system is going to have all eyes on that survival stress. It is not going to allow us to have higher brain potential, clear thinking, memory that's sharp, creative insight, empathy, connection to things, to just joy and wonder. All these things are dulled, and they are in some ways stunted when we're living in survival stress. She then writes, we're almost to the end, I began this healing journey in September 2020. Now, I'm reading this in July of 2021. She only started this work in 2020. It hasn't even been a year, but she's been in pain since 2014. So she began reading, I began reading Waking the Tiger, which is Peter Levine's book, his first seminal book. Peter Levine, founder of Somatic Experiencing, someone I've worked with, I've studied his work, all that good stuff. So I have some videos about Peter. I'll also post them below. So she writes, God bless Mr. Levine and his work, but that book gave me so much anxiety. Oops, sorry, Peter, forgot about this part. That book gave me so much anxiety and left me with more questions than I started with. And I will admit, the book is a theoretical book. It's not a practical approach, right? It's not a practical approach book, it's theory. After Googling some more, I finally found your work, and it was like someone turned the lights on. I know you've heard this before, but your work is so pedagogical that I didn't even have to use Google Translate. I'm 34 years old in Sweden. My English isn't my first language. And here I'm learning about neuroplastic sequencing, healing without a dictionary. At this point, it feels like her English is better than mine right now as I read this, but it's true. This is written in perfect English. Punctuation is perfect. And she's saying that she didn't need a dictionary to write about this. This concept of neuroplastic healing sequencing, this is sort of the ethos of my work. It's how I have formulated and created the curriculum of my programs. We go through, while it is a step-by-step approach, it's not the lessons that are step-by-step, it's the principles that my students are learning that have a linear fashion. We don't start with more advanced stuff at the beginning. We start with the basics. We start with capacity building, learning, education, theory, doing things very slowly, very titrated, as we would say. So, final sentence here. I just wanted to share a very short version of my healing journey. I owe it all to you, and I'm so grateful I'm sharing your work to everyone I know. Thank you so much. Now, the one thing that she then has, the PS, I'm going to see if I can show this to you. Maybe we'll put them in the video. She has pictures of her plants. Now, I've done videos about this before, and my students know that when they start to do this work, their regulation impacts their environment. And many people who have never been able to keep plants alive find that their plants start to not only stay alive, but thrive. And the PS reads, "This is my patio, summer 2021. I have never, all caps, in my life kept any plant alive before." I'm going to leave it at that, you guys. Basically, what this is a perfect textbook story of what occurs when we do this work at this nervous system level. We get a lot of education on board, right? She's binged all of my videos here, all of the resources on my site, and then she invested in the 21-day nervous system tune-up. It's a $300 course, $297. While I know that might seem like a lot at first listen, consider this. She's been trying to heal since 2004. I know how much money and resource and time people put into their healing, visiting healers, supplements, doctors, specialists, all these things. Sometimes these things work and we have to try different things, but sometimes we get to this point where we realize this stuff isn't working. Something is not working. I'm missing something. And then in a matter of less than 12 months, here is the story. All right, everybody, I hope this has been interesting. I hope this has been insightful. Perhaps this has given you a little bit more curiosity, maybe some hope, knowing that we all share the same kind of nervous system. Yes, we have different pasts, different traumas, but we are built from the same essence. Our nerves, how they work, our organs, they are built the same way. They want to heal. They do not want to stay stuck in dysregulation, in that level of pain and discomfort. They want to be well. They want to be vibrant. We can do it. Thank you so much for listening to this. Thank you for Elisabeth sharing your story. I so appreciate you in sharing this and sending it to us. Blessings to you and to everyone, and we will see you next time.